Welcome to Urban Legends, and in tonight's video, we'll be heading over to the state of Maine, where in 2009, a family had to barricade themselves into their house to evade a pack of predators. This is the true story of the Palmyra Wolves. In 2005, the Martin family, consisting of Eric and Shelley Martin, their daughter Chelsea and son Sean, had moved to a rural farmhouse surrounded by dense woods in the small town of Palmyra, Maine. The house was so isolated that to get there, you had to navigate a dirt track that led to their driveway, and there were no other trails or neighbors nearby, just forest. Eric was a keen hunter, but Shelley did not like guns in the house, so a compromise was made, and Eric kept his guns and ammunition in the barn opposite the house, where they were locked away. Each night, Eric and Shelley liked to sit out on the front porch and drink coffee, but one night, she saw something strange in the tree line. It looked like a bright pulsating light, and immediately Eric thought it was a poacher on his property. He called out to his son Sean, who also presumed that it was a poacher, so together they headed towards this light, to scare this intruder away, and the light began to fade and disappear, deeper into the forest. Just to be sure and also to satisfy their curiosity, Eric and Sean followed where the light had been, but they were alarmed when they heard something large, crashing through the undergrowth. It appeared to be circling them, and getting closer to their position. Unsure of what animal this was, and concerned that it was possibly a predator, they promptly headed back to the house. A month later, it was the beginning of spring, and Chelsea was with her boyfriend Nathan. They decided to go for a walk in the forest and took the family's dogs with them. As the two dogs had been cooped up in the house all winter, they were let off their leashes to run free. For a while, the dogs chased each other and ran amongst the trees. But after about 100 meters, they stopped still. Chelsea and Nathan went to see what was wrong, and they saw that the dogs were looking at a giant dirt mound, which had been constructed from branches and sticks, with circular passageways inside, and the mound was coated in moss and leaves. Nathan poked his head in to see if he could see anything, but he was met with a low and aggressive growl from somewhere inside. That was enough to frighten him and Chelsea to leave with the dogs. When they got back to the farmhouse, Chelsea told Eric and Sean what had happened, and Eric told his daughter about his own experience the month before. But the worst was yet to come. 2 months later, Eric and Shelley were out on the porch, partaking in their nightly routine, talking and drinking coffee, when a low mist came out of the forest. The couple joked about how eerie it looked, but there was something very wrong. Usually at night, and particularly during the summer, there were constant noises coming from the birds, crickets, and other animals, but it had turned deadly silent. Eric began to feel a sense of danger, and said that they should go inside. Then they heard a noise. Shelley had a flashlight in her pocket and she shined it into the mist, just to see where the noise had come from, and she froze. Standing about 100 meters from the house were 3 creatures. They looked wolf-like, but were much larger. Then 2 more came out of the tree line and joined the others. Shelley asked her husband what they could be, and Eric, who was an experienced hunter, did not know. They were unlike anything he had seen before. The creatures then charged towards the house, as Eric and Shelley quickly got off the porch and went in through the front door. They locked it behind them, and went through the house, closing every window, door, and pulled the blinds down, so the creatures would not be able to see in. Although they were inside the house, and the doors were now locked, the couple did not feel safe. There was something very strange about the animals they had seen, and the coordinated attack had been even stranger. Eric felt frustrated that all his guns were locked away in the barn, and Shelley told him that under no circumstances should he go out there to get them. Eric stayed by the door as his wife walked up the stairs and closed all the windows and blinds on the upper floor, then woke her daughter, Chelsea, to tell her what had happened. They then went to the bedroom window and discreetly peeked through the curtain, where Chelsea saw 5 wolf-like animals that were standing in a line and watching the house. All of a sudden, one of the creatures saw the women and stood up on its hind legs, displaying its intimidating size. Alarmed, Shelley told her daughter to stay in the bed and not to look out the window again. She also realized that she hadn't heard or seen her dogs for a while, so she checked the other bedrooms, and she eventually found her 2 dogs, who were cowering next to each other on the floor. Shelley was relieved they were safe, but also disturbed at their behavior, as she had never seen them so scared. Meanwhile, Eric was trying to devise a plan to get to his weapons. He had badly hurt his back at work a few years prior, so his mobility was not great, but he feared for his family's safety, and if he was armed, then he could protect them from these mysterious predators. Unfortunately, it would take time to unlock the barn and open the large doors, then unlock the gun box and load them up. By that time, he was sure that the animals would be onto him. The only other option was that if Eric could get to his truck, he might be able to back it up to the house, so Shelley and the kids could get in, and then drive away safely, away from this nightmare. Eric thought that he would check outside anyway, and pulled the curtain aside for a moment, where he saw that the 5 creatures had now moved away from the house, back to where he and his wife had originally seen them by the tree line. He knew that this was his chance, and he quickly opened the front door and ran to his truck. Eric kept an eye on the creatures the whole time, and they were still. He got to the truck and took his keys out, but the motion light sensor above him came on, startling Eric, and he dropped the keys. Immediately, he looked out and saw that one of the animals was standing on its hind legs, and then all of them started running towards him. Eric grabbed the keys and ran the 10 meters back to his house, just making it inside and closing the door as the creatures jumped onto the porch and began slamming themselves against the front door. Shelley called down and asked what was happening, to which Eric said that they needed to call the police. The family listened and could hear the creatures running around on the wraparound porch outside, and she made the call, but when the dispatcher asked what was terrorizing the family, Shelley didn't know what to say, despite describing them as best she could. Ultimately, the family were told to just keep inside the house, stay hidden, and wait it out. After that phone call, Eric, Shelley, and Chelsea decided to barricade themselves in, so they dragged heavy furniture and placed it in front of the doors and windows on the ground floor, took the biggest kitchen knives they could find, and went upstairs to the master bedroom, where they would spend the night. As soon as they were up there, the animals' behavior changed. The Martin family heard lots of banging noises, and then howling, as if the pack were communicating information to each other. Much to their horror, 2 of the creatures managed to jump up to the first floor roof, which was almost like a sloping balcony, and it meant that they were level with the family on the 2nd floor. Eric and Shelley saw the creatures walk past the windows, occasionally trying to look in through the glass, but a thin curtain, plus the darkness in the bedroom, meant that they couldn't see the family. All night, there were scratching noises and constant banging. The animals were investigating different parts of the house, desperate to get in, but fortunately, they never did. Eventually, the sun came up and the noises abruptly stopped. The family waited for a long time before daring to venture outside, but when they did, they were astonished at what they saw. There were enormous footprints everywhere, and deep scratches all over the walls. The front door had been chewed and clawed, to the point where it was unrecognizable. This experience was so disturbing that the Martin family moved from the house very quickly. Classifying the creatures has always caused much debate. One of the most popular theories is that they were cryptids, often compared to Bigfoot or the Chupacabra. Descriptions of the creatures' glowing eyes, bipedal movement, and ability to run on all fours fit the profile of many cryptid sightings. Proponents of this theory argue that the massive and dense forests of Maine could harbor undiscovered species, hiding from human contact. Another theory says that the creatures could be a new species of bipedal wolves. The large clawed footprints found around the Martin property, along with the reported sightings of creatures walking on 2 legs, lend some weight to this idea. Advocates of this theory suggest that these wolves could be an evolutionary offshoot, adapted to both quadrupedal and bipedal locomotion for hunting and navigation through dense forests. Skeptics often lean towards the theory that the entire incident was just an elaborate hoax. This theory suggests that the Martin family or someone else might have staged the encounters for attention or other motives. The absence of any physical evidence beyond footprints, which could have been fabricated, fuels this speculation. However, the genuine fear expressed by the family and the consistent details in their accounts make this theory less convincing to most. Another intriguing theory is that the creatures were supernatural beings or entities from another realm. The eerie growls, glowing eyes, and inexplicable presence align with tales of mythical beings or spirits. Some locals have connected the sightings to regional folklore, where malevolent forest spirits or werewolf-like entities are believed to exist. This theory, while less scientific, taps into the cultural and spiritual beliefs of the area. A more recent theory links the Palmyra Wolves incident to the missing 411 phenomenon, which involves unexplained disappearances in national parks and rural areas. Some suggest that whatever is responsible for these mysterious disappearances might also be behind the attack on the farmhouse. What do you think the creatures were? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos.